Hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Legal World. Myself Dr. Seema Goyal. In the series of Muslim law, today I am going to discuss one of the most important questions relating to the Muslim law. That is the question relating to the right of preemption. This question has been asked for many times in the previous year question papers. So in this video, I will discuss everything and every concept relating to the right of preemption. If we talk about the right of preemption, before the advent of Muslim rule in India, India had not known anything like Sufa. With the establishment of Muslim rule, the law of Sufa was introduced in India. It became applicable to all the peoples, including Hindus. The economy of nation depends on the transfer of property, and the transfer of property may be either gratuitous or non-gratuitous. In case of non-gratuitous transfer of property, the Muslims are not governed by their personal laws in every case. There are the certain subjects in which the Muslims are governed by their personal laws, and the law of preemption is also one of them. The right of preemption is a right that is arising from and relating to the ownership of the immovable property. Muslim law says that the right of preemption exists in all the joint properties, whether land, house, or grave. It is not the proper for him or the owner to sell till he has offered it to his co-partner or the neighbor. If he fails to do so, his co-partner has the preferential right to it. Until he is informed, a neighbor has a right superior to that of stranger in the lands adjacent to his own land. The neighbor of a house and neighbor of the land has superior right to those lands, and if he is absent, then they must wait for his return. Muslim law of the preemption was not recognized throughout the country. It was recognized in northern part of India. If we talk about the concept of preemption, the mullah says the right of sufa or the preemption is a right where the owner of the immovable property possesses to acquire by purchase another immovable property which has been sold to another person. The right of preemption is the foundation stone of the human desire to avoid the inconvenience and disturbances which is likely to be caused by the introduction of a stranger into the land. Literally, the term preemption means purchase by one person before an opportunity is offered to others. According to Section 2, Clause 1 of the Punjab Preemption Act, the right of preemption means a right to acquire by the purchase of immovable property in the preference of the other persons by the reason of such right. The right of preemption is a preferential right of a person already present in the locality in either manner. It is substitution of an owner to another by the paying the market value of the property to the previous owner. Hence, it is not a sale but substitution of the ownership only. For example, A and B are the co-owner of a certain property. A, without notice of B, sells the property to C. B can file a suit for preemption for the said land under the law of preemption. And Wilson also says about the preemption. According to him, the preemption is a right to acquire by the compulsory purchase in the certain cases. Immovable property in preference to all the other persons. In the case of Qudrat Ullah versus Muhammad Mohan, in this case, it was held that the right of preemption is a right of repurchase from the buyer. He held that the preemption is a right which the owner of certain immovable property possesses, as such for the quiet enjoyment of that immovable property to obtain in substitution for the buyer. In the another case, that is the case of Srimati Mattu Devi versus Damodar Lal. In this case, it was held that the right of preemption is a right which the owner of immovable property possesses to acquire by purchase of any immovable property which had been sold to another person. It is not a personal right. Also, in another case, that is the Awadh Bihari Singh versus Gazdhar. In this case, the Honorable Apex Court has said that the right of preemption is an accident annexed to the property or the right attaching to the ownership of the property. Talk about the classification of the preemption. The preemption has generally divided into two categories. First one, that is the primary and substitutive right. Second one is the secondary and remedial right. If we talk about the primary right means the right to have the first offer of the intended sale. If you talk about the primary right means the right to have the first offer of an intended sale. An owner who intended to dispose of his the property should give the offer to the preemptor, and he cannot dispose of his property to a stranger in case the owner has sold his immovable property to a stranger. It will be infringement of his right. Talk about the secondary or the remedial right. Primary right exists before the sale take place, while the remedial right can be exercised against the owner of the preemptive property. So the remedial right is available against the purchase of the preemptive property. The remedial right is a personal right. It accrues in the person who is the owner of the preemptive property at the time of the sale, which gives rise to the exercise of preemption. If we talk about the preemption in the schools of Muslim law, various schools of Muslim law don't uniformly recognize the right of preemption. The Safai Athna Sharia school allows the right of preemption only to the co-sharer, while the Hanafi recognizes the right of preemption to the full extent. It recognizes the three types of preemption. Number one, the Safai Sarik. Number two, the Safai Khalid. And last one is Safai Ijar. So these are the three types of right that arise in the preemption. If we talk about the claim of right of preemption, there are the three types of persons who can claim the right of preemption. Persons eligible to enjoy the privileges of preemption. We can classify these persons in the three categories. Number one, Safai Sarik, that is co-sharer in the property. Second one is Safai Khalid, that is the participation in various kind of appendages or the easement. And last one is Safai Ijar, that is immovable neighbor or the victim. So these are the three categories of persons who are eligible to enjoy the privileges of preemption. First one is that is Safai Sarik, co-owner in the property. This is the right of preemption of a co-sharer to the property. That is obviously no right of preemption arises on the sale of leased property. The right of preemption can be claimed only by full owner. In the case, the two or more persons may be using the property simultaneously. The person having the property must be the owner of the property. Second one is Safai Khalid. It means participation in the various kinds of easements or appendages of the or immunities, such as right to way, right to discharge the water. These are the certain rights relating to the easements. If the preemptor is a neighbor of the household, then along with the vendor, they are both equally entitled to preemption of the property, and each one of them is equally entitled to an equal share of the property. If, however, the preemptor is not only a neighbor but a participator in immunities and appendages. However, the preemptor is not only a neighbor but a participator in the immunities and appendages. Thus, the dominant co-owner easement right over the household. Thus he is a claimant owner or having the easement right over the household. If we talk about the Safai Jar, among the Muslim law, a neighbor, the owner of adjoining property, is also given the right of preemption. This right is available only to the owner, his tenant, or any other person who is in the possession of the property without any title has no right to claim the right under the discharge. Thus, a Waqf of Mutawali has no right of preemption on the basis of Safai. And since the title of the property does not vest in either of them but God, and God too has no right of preemption. The right of preemption arises from the full ownership. It is a material that the preemptor is not in the possession of the property. If the owner does and not the possession which gives rise to the right of preemption, there is no right of preemption on the lease, hold, whether the house or the land. When does right of preemption arise? If we ask this question, the right of preemption arises only in two types of transfer of the property, that is sale and exchange. It does not arise in respect of the transfer of property of any other type. The right of preemption arises out of a valid, complete, and bona fide sale. There will be no right of preemption if the property was transferred without the consideration of law, such as gift, charity, waqf, inheritance. These are the rights where there will be no right of preemption in the property. If we talk about the right of preemption in the case of Nathu versus Adi, Allahabad High Court has held that the transfer of the property by the husband to his wife in lieu of dower is sale, and therefore right of preemption will arise. Similarly, right of preemption arise in respect of the exchange when it is complete, bona fide, and valid. And the right of preemption does not exist in respect of the gift, sadaq, waqf, inheritance, etc. It does not apply to a mortgage also. If we talk about the subject matter of preemption, the subject matter of preemption is the immovable property. In the case of movable property, the preemption cannot be claimed. Under the Sunni law, the landed property alone, including the house, garden, shops, etc., can be the subject matter of preemption. While under the Shia law, even the movable property can be subject matter of preemption. Under the Safai school, property which is incapable of division cannot be the subject matter of preemption. So the preemption must be claimed of the whole of the estate. Where there are more than one preemptors, any one of them can claim his right according to his share. If we talk about the formalities for claiming the right of preemption, the Muslim law does not prescribe any particular formality for claiming the preemption. Muslim law prescribes the certain formalities, observance of those formalities, which is imperative. Once all the formalities are completed, the right of preemption can be defeated, or any other basis which are essential formalities. These are called two demands. And the Fiji says that there are three demands. That is, Fiji's third demand is filing the suit, which is not always necessary. If the right of preemption is not claimed when no demand is made, the right of preemption does not arise. If we talk about the demands for preemption, the first demand, that is talaqi musibat. This is the duty of the preemptor to declare his intention for claiming the right of preemption. On receiving the information of sale, the preemptor must assert his right to immediately. There should not be any unreasonable delay in filing the claim of preemption. No witnesses are necessary for making the claim. In the case of Abdul versus Altif, a delay of 24 hours or even 12 hours was held to be too long. It is also not necessary that the first demand should be made by the preemptor in person. The demand may be made by his manager or a person previously authorized by him. The first demand to be valid must be made when the sale has been complete, not before. If we talk about the second demand, that is known as the talaq-e-isad. And this is the duty of preemptor to make his second demand immediately. For this, preemptor is required to take the certain steps. Number one, he must repeat his first demand. Second, the demand should be made in the presence of two witnesses. The buyer or the seller cannot be treated as witnesses. Third one is that the demand should be made either in the presence of vendor or the purchaser or on the premises. The demand may be made through an agent or even by a letter. And lastly, when the preemptor is minor, his de facto guardian may make a demand on his behalf. Father or brother has no right to claim the preemption on the behalf of son or brother unless he had been previously authorized to make the demand. If we talk about the next demand, that is regarding the proceeding in the court of law, that is known as Tamil. Thirdly, if the claim of the preemptor has not been fulfilled, he may bring a suit in the court of law. The formality is that is known as Tamilik. So these are the certain formalities which are required in the case of preemption. If we talk about the parties to the right of preemption, there are the certain parties. First party, that is party belonging to different schools. There are three persons who may be the party in the case of preemption. These persons are the seller, buyer and the preemptor. There may be no problem if the parties belonging to the some school or religion. The problem may, however, arise if the parties belong to the different schools or religion. As in India, it is secular state and the state shall treat all the religions equally. So it is suggested that either the law of preemption be applied to all the citizens of India or it may be totally denied. Second, that is parties belonging to different religion. According to Muslim law, the law of preemption is not confined to the Muslims. It is also allowed to the Christians as well as Hindus. During the 19th century, the judicial opinion was that the seller and the preemptor should both be Muslim. In the Dwarkadas case, it was said that where the seller or the preemptor is a non-Muslim, Muslim law or the preemption cannot be allowed, as the Muslim law can be applied only to the Muslims only. Indian courts were having the two opinions. According to one opinion, in the case of non-Muslim also, Muslim law of preemption shall be applied. According to the second opinion, a non-Muslim could not avail the facility of Muslim law of the preemption. In a case, court held that for claiming the right of preemption, the buyer too should be a Muslim. Next one is vendor must be a Muslim. In the case of non-Muslim vendor, no right to claim the preemption shall arise, though the vendor may be a Muslim. Loss of the right of preemption. If we talk about the loss of right of preemption, the right of preemption is lost in the certain conditions. Number one, on the death of preemptor. If the preemptor dies after making both the demands but before filing the suit, the right of preemption is lost and his legal representative cannot file the suit. Next one is acquiescence. Acquiescence can also take place. A preemption fails to observe the necessary formalities, such as making on demand. There may be other circumstances from which acquiescence can be the part of preemptor, may be interfered. The right to preemption is also lost when the preemptor enters into the compromise with the buyer, such as when he agrees to cultivate the land, subject matter of the preemption, with the vendee. A mere offer by a preemptor to purchase from the vendor the property at the sale price within view to avoid the litigation does not amount to the acquiescence. So the right of preemption may come to an end by way of acquiescence, death or by release. And the next one is by the misjoinder or by joining the wrong plaintiff. The preemptor shall have no right to claim the preemption if he has filed the claim along with the persons who are not entitled to claim the preemption. Then the right is lost and the suit must be dismissed. But the right will not lost if he joins with himself as the co-plaintiff, a person who could have filed a suit for preemption. If we talk about the preemption that is lost by release, the right to preemption may come to an end if there is release. So if the preemptor releases the property for the consideration, it is to be paid to him. However, the right of preemption will not be extinguished if before the completion of the sale the property was offered to the preemptor, but he refused to buy it, since the right of preemption accrues only after the completion of the sale. Similarly, the right of preemption cannot be defeated even when a preemptor has notice of the impending sale previously, but made no offer to the vendor to purchase it. It was held in the case of Asari versus Rathmatula in 1927. If we talk about the circumstances when the right of preemption is not lost, there are the certain circumstances. Number one, a preemptor can claim the right of preemption only after the completion of the sale. Mere proposal or negotiation will not entitle them to claim his right of preemption. Mere refusal on the part of preemptor to purchase the property will not deprive him from the right to purchase the property. It was held in the case of Abodi Begum versus Imam Begum. Second condition, that is preemptor had previously noticed of the sale and he did not offer to purchase. If we talk about the subject matter of preemption, the subject matter of preemption is the immovable property. In the case of movable property, the preemption can't be claimed. Under the Sunila, the landed property alone, including the house and gardens, etc., can be the subject matter of preemption. If we talk about the effect of preemption, once a suit for preemption is decreed, the preemptor stands the shoes of the buyer and takes the property that is subject matter of the prior equitage. Second one is, where the claim was made after the completion of the sale, the original buyer becomes the new vendor and the preemption as the new purchaser. The preemptor may become the owner of the property only when the possession has been delivered to him. And the right of preemption cannot be defeated or affected by the disposal of the property made by the vendee, nor it can be defeated by the death of the vendor. And the next one is, a decree of the preemption cannot be transferred by the preemption. And lastly, immediately on the completion of the contract of sale, alterations in terms of the sale will not affect the right of preemption. If we talk about the evasion of the right of preemption, the vendor can evade the right of preemption. And Mullah says that when his apprehension that a claim for preemption can be advanced by a neighborhood, the vendor may sell the whole of his property, excluding the operation, and has defeated the neighbor's right of preemption. The vendor can only try to defeat the right of preemption by lease out of the property in perpetuity instead of selling it. सूफा, जिसे अगर क्रय अधिकार या प्रियम्पशन के नाम से जाना जाता है, सूफा का शाब्दिक अर्थ होता है जोड़ना, किसी वस्तु के साथ जुड़ना, चिपकना या सह अस्तित्व। इसका अर्थ यह है कि किसी ऐसी संपत्ति के स्वामी का अधिकार जो संपत्ति किसी दूसरे व्यक्ति की संपत्ति से जुड़ी हुई है, तो उसके साथ सटी हुई है या उसके सान्निध्य में है। हक सूफा का अर्थ होता है एक संपत्ति जो अचल संपत्ति है कि स्वामी का उसकी संपत्ति से जुड़ी हुई अन्य संपत्ति को विक्रय होने पर उसी नए क्रेता से उसी नई संपत्ति को स्वतः क्रय करने का अधिकार। उदाहरण के लिए ए के मकान के साथ सटा हुआ बी का मकान है। यह मकान यदि सी को बेचता है तो ए का विधिक अधिकार है कि वो सी से यह मकान खरीद ले, और सी का विधिक दायित्व है कि वह मकान ए को मांगने पर बेच दे। अल्लाह जी के शब्दों में सूफा का अधिकार स्थावर संपत्ति के स्वामी का अन्य स्थावर संपत्ति खरीदने का अधिकार है। अतः सूफा एक ऐसा अधिकार है जो कि किसी अचल संपत्ति के स्वामी को दूसरे की अचल संपत्ति उस मूल्य पर प्राप्त करने का हकदार बनाता है इस मूल्य पर वह अचल संपत्ति किसी अन्य व्यक्ति के हाथ बेची जाए। यदि हम अग्र क्रय अधिकार के आवश्यक तत्वों की बात करते हैं तो इसके कुछ आवश्यक तत्व बताए गए हैं, जैसे कि नंबर 1, सूफा किसी अचल संपत्ति के स्वामी का किसी दूसरी संपत्ति पर जो उसकी नहीं है मालिकाना कब्जा प्राप्त करने का अधिकार है। सेकंड, यह अधिकार उस क्रेता के स्थान पर प्राप्त किया जाता है जिसने उस अचल संपत्ति को खरीद लिया है। थर्ड, मालिकाना कब्जे का अधिकार शर्तों पर प्राप्त किया जाता है जिन पर कि वह दूसरी संपत्ति क्रेता के हाथ बेची गई हो। एंड लास्टली, द संपत्ति के शांतिपूर्ण उपभोग के लिए यह अधिकार विधि द्वारा प्रदान किया जाता है। यदि हम इस अधिकार के आधार की बात करते हैं तो सूफा का उद्गम हजरत मोहम्मद साहब के हदीस के आधार पर हुआ है। इनमें से कुछ हदीसें निम्नलिखित हैं, जैसे एक पड़ोसी को अपनी से जुड़ी अचल संपत्ति की एक अजनबी से पहले क्रय करने का अधिकार है। सूफा का अधिकार प्रत्येक उस सहयोगी के पास होता है जिसने अपना हिस्सा अभी अलग करके नहीं लिया है। सूफा का औचित्य की यदि हम बात करते हैं तो सूफा के अधिकार के 2 औचित्य हो सकते हैं। नंबर 1, सूफा की विधि उन असुविधाओं और कठिनाइयों को रोकती है जो कि किसी अवांछनीय अजनबी द्वारा पड़ोसी के रूप में आगमन से उत्पन्न हो सकती है। दूसरा, उत्तराधिकार की मुस्लिम विधि पारिवारिक संपत्ति का विखंडन करने वाली प्रकृति की है और सूफा विधि इसे काफ़ी रोकती है। यदि हम सूफा के अधिकार के उद्भव की बात करते हैं तो सूफा के अधिकार का उद्भव विक्रय से होता है और वह भी केवल विक्रय से पूर्ण हो जाने पर। यह अधिकार बिना प्रतिफल के अचल संपत्ति के अंतरण के मामले में, जैसे कि हिबा, से उत्पन्न नहीं होता। इसके लिए आवश्यक है कि धन या संपत्ति प्रतिफल में अचल संपत्ति का अंतरण होना चाहिए। दूसरा, विक्रेता से क्रेता को स्वामित्व का वास्तविक अंतरण होना चाहिए। निम्न अंतरणों में यह अधिकार उत्पन्न नहीं होता, जैसे कि दान, सदका, वक्फ, उत्तराधिकार, वसीयत, पट्टा, बंधन, सशर्त विक्रय। ये स्थितियां हैं जहां पर सूफा का अधिकार उत्पन्न नहीं होता। यदि हम आवश्यक औपचारिकताओं की बात करते हैं तो फैजी जी के अनुसार सही समय पर सही कदम उठाए बिना तथा आवश्यक औपचारिकताओं को पूरा किए बिना किसी व्यक्ति को अग्रक्रय पाने का अधिकार नहीं मिलेगा। 3 आवश्यक औपचारिकताएं हैं जिनको 3 मांगे भी कहा जाता है। जैसे कि प्रथम मांग की यदि हम बात करते हैं, इसे तलक ए मुवासिबत कहा जाता है, अर्थात तत्काल की गई मांग। जैसे ही विक्रय होने जा रहा है, इस प्रकार की सूचना मिलते ही सफ़ी को इस अवसर पर यह आवश्यक है कि उस प्रथम मांग का उल्लेख करना चाहिए। सेकंड, 2 गवाहों के समक्ष ऐसा करना चाहिए। थर्ड, उस समय विक्रेता यदि संपत्ति उसके अधिपत्य में है अथवा क्रेता उपस्थित होना चाहिए अथवा कार्यवाही संपत्ति के परिसर में की जानी चाहिए। मांग की यदि हम बात करते हैं तो इसके लिए विशेष प्रारूप नहीं है। प्रथम एवं द्वितीय मांग एक साथ की जा सकती है। इसके बाद आती है तीसरी मांग, जिसे तलब ए तमलीक कहा जाता है, जिसको कब्जे की मांग कहा जाता है। तीसरी मांग का अर्थ होता है विधिक कार्यवाही। यह तभी आवश्यक होता है जब प्रथम दोनों मांगे विफल हो जाए। तीसरी मांग वस्तुतः सूफा के अधिकार को परिवर्तित कराने की प्रक्रिया है। यह आवश्यक है कि विक्रेता द्वारा संपत्ति पर कब्जा होने के 1 वर्ष के भीतर वाद दायर होना चाहिए। ढोला वर्सेस खानम के वाद में ऑनरेबल कोर्ट के द्वारा यह कहा गया कि सूफा का वाद समस्त अधिकारों को प्राप्त करने का वाद होना चाहिए। संपत्ति के एक भाग को पाने के लिए ही क्यों न किया गया हो। वाद दोषपूर्ण है तो उसे खारिज कर दिया जाएगा। सूफा अधिकार के पक्ष में डिक्री पास होने के पश्चात संपत्ति सूफा अधिकारी में निहित होती है। सूफा अधिकारी संपत्ति क्रेता से लेता है, अतः क्रेता वाद का आवश्यक पक्षकार है। संपत्ति विक्रेता के कब्जे में होने की स्थिति में वह भी वाद का आवश्यक पक्षकार है, परंतु क्रेता की संपत्ति पर काबिज होने पर विक्रेता आवश्यक पक्षकार नहीं होता। यदि हम सूफा के अधिकार की बात करते हैं तो यह कुछ परिस्थितियों में नष्ट भी हो जाता है, जैसे कि उपमति या अधिव्यंजन द्वारा। दूसरा, सूफा अधिकारी की मृत्यु के कारण। तीसरा, कुसंयोजन द्वारा। एंड लास्ट वन इज निर्मुक्ति द्वारा। फर्स्ट वन इज उपमति या अभित्यंजन द्वारा। यदि हम सूफा अधिकारी की बात करते हैं तो सूफा अधिकारी द्वारा सूफा की औपचारिकताओं का पालन न करने का तात्पर्य है कि उसने अनुमति द्वारा अपने अधिकार को नष्ट कर दिया है। क्रेता के साथ समझौता कर लेने पर सूफा का अधिकार नष्ट हो जाता है। सेकंड वन इज सूफा अधिकारी की मृत्यु द्वारा। सूफा अधिकारी की दोनों मांगों के करने के पश्चात परंतु वाद प्रस्तुत करने से पहले यदि सूफा अधिकारी की मृत्यु हो जाती है तब भी यह अधिकार समाप्त हो जाता है। तीसरा, कुसंयोजन द्वारा। सूफा अधिकारी द्वारा अपने साथ उस व्यक्ति को वादी बनाने पर जिसे सूफा का अधिकार नहीं है, सूफा का अधिकार नष्ट हो जाता है और वाद खारिज हो जाएगा। परंतु यदि सहवादी को सूफा का अधिकार तो है परंतु वह इसका प्रयोग इसलिए नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि उसने अन्य 2 मांगों को पूरा नहीं किया है, तो ऐसी स्थिति में सूफा का अधिकार नष्ट नहीं होगा। निर्मुक्ति द्वारा। सूफा अधिकारी द्वारा कुछ प्रतिफल के एवज में संपत्ति का निर्मुक्ति कर देने पर सूफा का अधिकार नष्ट हो जाता है, परंतु सूफा का अधिकार इसलिए नष्ट नहीं होगा कि सूफा अधिकारी को मालूम था कि विक्रय होने वाला है परंतु उसने संपत्ति खरीदने का प्रस्ताव नहीं किया है। यदि हम सूफा के अधिकार के प्रभाव की बात करते हैं तो सूफा के बाद में डिक्री होने के पश्चात सूफा अधिकारी क्रेता का स्थान ग्रहण कर लेता है और संपत्ति को सभी साम्य और दायित्वों के साथ लेता है। यदि हम सूफा की बात करते हैं तो सूफा कौन हो सकता है? वह व्यक्ति जो सूफा के अधिकार का दावा करने के लिए अधिकृत है उसे सफ़ी कहा जाता है। सुन्नी विधि के अनुसार सुफा का अधिकार कुछ निम्नलिखित लोगों में होता है। फर्स्ट वन इज सफ़ी ए शरीफ। इसका अर्थ है कि संपत्ति में सह अंशधारी होना। वे व्यक्ति जो किसी सामान्य पूर्वज की संपत्तियों को उत्तराधिकार में प्राप्त करते हैं, ऐसी संपत्तियों में सह अंशधारी होते हैं। एक सह अंशधारी द्वारा संपत्ति को बेचने पर दूसरा सह अंशधारी ऐसी संपत्ति पर सुफा के अधिकार का दावा कर सकता है। सह अंशधारी का सुफा का अधिकार सर्वश्रेष्ठ प्रकृति का होता है। सेकंड वन इज सफ़ी ए खलीत। यदि कोई व्यक्ति सुखा अधिकार का अधिकार रखता है तो उसे ऐसी संपत्ति पर सुफा का अधिकार प्राप्त होता है। राम वर्सेस कल्याण सहाय के वाद में ऑनरेबल अपेक्स कोर्ट के द्वारा यह कहा गया कि सुफा का अधिकार सफ़ी ए खलीत के रूप में सुफा के अधिकारी का दावा प्रकाश और हवा के आधार पर नहीं किया जा सकता। ऐसा अधिकार मार्ग या रास्ता और जल के सुखा अधिकार तक ही सीमित है। नेक्स्ट इज सफ़ी ए जार। इसका अर्थ होता है ऐसा व्यक्ति जो मिली हुई अचल संपत्ति का स्वामी हो, परंतु मिली हुई अचल संपत्ति का किराएदार या ऐसा व्यक्ति जो बिना वैध अधिकार के ऐसी संपत्ति पर काबिज हो, सफ़ी ए जार की श्रेणी में नहीं आता। वाकिफ सुफा का दावा नहीं कर सकता है क्योंकि वो वक्फ संपत्ति का स्वामी नहीं होता है। यदि हम सूफा की विषय वस्तु की बारे में बात करते हैं तो सूफा की विषय वस्तु अचल संपत्ति ही होनी आवश्यक है और वह भूमि, दुकान, मकान आदि कुछ भी हो सकती है। सूफा की पूरी विषय वस्तु के संबंध में किया जाना जरूरी है। सफ़ी संपत्ति के किसी भाग मात्र का दावा नहीं कर सकता। This was all about the right of preemption under the Muslim law, and this is one of the most important questions relating to the Muslim law. That is generally asked for 20 marks, and it has been asked for many times in the previous question papers. If you have any doubt, you must put down in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe this channel for the further update. Thank you.